Hi, it's Papa. If you watched the introductory video to One Man's Mile, you'll know that I enjoyed having people read to me when I was a kid. And so I've decided to read to you. It might bring back memories for you. Maybe no one's ever read to you and you just want to see what it's like. Or maybe you just want to sit back and relax and listen for a while. I'll be reading from my book, One Man's Mile, a series of vignettes about interesting people that I knew in the North. Today I'll be reading from Chapter 1, The Mittens. The morning was crisp and clear. Moisture hung in the air, frozen like millions of little diamonds. Smoke from morning fires rose in straight, gray lines to bend and congeal into a soft layer of haze diffusing the light. Although it was mid-morning, time seemed suspended with the lack of human activity and the dreamlike quality of the elements around me. I felt all the signs of extreme cold. I knew the temperature within a few degrees, even without my morning glance at the thermometer. My nostrils were frozen. My eyelids were heavy with frost from my breath. The snow crunched under my feet, spreading like moon dust with every step. I had a long way to walk, but I was enjoying the frozen solitude. My outer clothing formed a cocoon that afforded a delicious feeling of warmth in the frigid air. A heavy hooded parka held in my body heat. The hood was pulled up and tightly tied. Wolf fur, white with breath frost, ringed my face. My feet were warm balls in multiple pairs of heavy socks wrapped in duffel, kept dry by moose-hide moccasins running to mid-calf, tied crisscrossed up my leg with moose-hide thongs. My hands were warm in the beautiful moose-hide mittens. The hide was thick enough to keep the cold and wind out. The mittens were lined with soft duffel to keep in the warmth. The wonderful thing about these mittens was the cuffs. They came up to the middle of my forearm. The elements could not get up my sleeves. The cuffs were a marvel of beauty and winter technology. A three-petaled beaded flower of green, red, and yellow and white adorned each of them. The detail was intricate, with the beads taking the shape of the petal in shrinking curves until converging into a tri-circle of green, gold, and red. The cuffs themselves were tapered. This allowed them to easily accommodate parka sleeves while closely holding the wrist. My parka sleeve formed a seal against wind and cold. As a boy, I would have called them idiot mittens, because a multicolored yarn rope connected the mittens in exactly the same way a piece of yarn had connected my boyhood mittens. The rope went behind my neck outside my parka hood, allowing me to take my mittens off to let them dangle in place until they were needed again. The string on my boyhood mittens ran through my sleeves, eliminating the possibility of losing them. I hated that string then, but appreciated the useful variation now. These mittens were such a blend of beauty and practicality that I had sent several pairs to friends as gifts. Most, too odd to make use of them, simply found a prominent place to display their unique handmade beauty. They were certainly unique in a society where mittens were utilitarian and bought from piles in a bargain store. One couple asked me to send a second pair. I assumed these mittens were keeping my friends' hands warm. They had written an interesting question. Is moose hide waterproof? This cold morning, I was on my way to have that question answered by the woman who had made the mittens. My visit would serve two purposes. I would find an answer for my friends, and I would have a visit with a friend. My walk took me on a road running along the Moose River, appropriately named River Road. The road was one of three on Moose Factory Island in the middle of the river. A town of some 2,000 souls was built there on the Hudson Bay Company history and Cree culture. The Crees were native people of the Algonquin group caught between a life of living off the land and the modern world of regular jobs and video games. Moosehide mittens were one of the many subtle links holding these two worlds together. I was walking to Sofia's home. She had made the mittens. I had no idea how old Sophia was at the time, but she was old. Her snow-white hair was always up in a bun. Her eyes were sunken, shiny, and jet black, keenly observant and knowing. Her cheekbones and nose protruded with age, hinting at the beauty of youth. Wrinkles from almost a century of cold winter wind and hot summer sun lined her face. On Moose Factory Island, these were signs of wisdom and experience. I saw Sophia's house just off the road up ahead. A line of smoke rose in the morning sky from her chimney, connecting her home with dozens of her neighbors in that layer of haze, the byproduct of early morning warmth. From a distance, her house looked like it was built of brick. As I got closer, I could see the holes in the brick exposing huge, hand-holed squared logs that had been set a century before. The brick was actually asphalt shingle made to look like brick. Someone years before had the ancient logs covered. Having no bricks, the next best thing was used: insul brick. The logs were natural, formed with muscle and sweat. The insul brick was manufactured and deteriorated in the weather. The squared logs held firm. Sophia's roof was tin, long sheets to repel precipitation. Snow did not sit on the tin roof, but was piled around the house, having slid off when the weight reached mini avalanche proportions. I could see the snow piled around Sophia's house. The snow piles were no accident. Each house had snow piled against the walls, despite the fact that many had a deeper layer of snow on the roof. Piled snow insulated a house from the rigors of cold and wind. Sophia's house was piled high with openings cut in the snowbank for her windows. Her snow was not piled as neatly as others because a recent roof avalanche marred the handiwork of some boy she had paid to bank the snow against her house. As I got closer to the house, I could see the sagging garage, which had at one time housed, in succession, dog sleds, snowmobiles, and pickup trucks. Now it was empty, except for a few garbage bags waiting to be hauled to the dump. I hope you're enjoying having me read to you. Join me again when I'll continue with the chapter, The Mittens. Have a great day and love one another.